elected order to March 19th, 2024 meeting of the Hartford Joint One School District Board of Education. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Banky?
Here.
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Feinberg?
Here.
Ms. Strunk? Here. Vote here.
All are present. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Public for the purpose of conducting the district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Any district residents wishing to speak should have filled out a card located at the sign-in table and given it to the board secretary. Mr. Henlin, want to take over from here?
Sure, thank you very much. So, we have a couple of students who are here for the placement. One of them unfortunately got super sick, so they're not here. But Nora was very kind enough to step up once again, so we sent her place here before for the pledge, but she was very kind enough to step in and help London tonight. So, London Carview and Nora Bishop will be leading us for the pledge.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Moving on to consider approval of the agenda. The agenda notes of the board mission, we will support our community through dedicated governance, leadership, and stewardship so that our students achieve. It also states our values and expectations as a board in governing our meeting. The purpose of the agenda approval is twofold. The first reason is to verify that public notice has been given according to state statute 19.84. Mrs. Huffman, has the meeting been properly noticed?
Yes.
The second reason for the approval of the agenda is to consider tabling any items or to rearrange the order of events. I don't think we had any. That's all. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion. John Beatty. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, now we'll move on to Mr. Hanlon.
My pleasure to introduce Mr. Stark and some of our first grade students tonight. We had originally planned on doing some more literacy, but we think we might be literacy out. So we did make the change, and Mr. Stark was kind enough to pivot. And so we're going to be presenting this evening on some math that we've been doing lately in our first grade classroom. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Stark and our fantastic first graders.
Good evening. My name is Carla. This is Amaya, Layla, Kim, and Robert. We are in Mrs. Stark's first grade class at Lincoln Elementary. Tonight we will hear some of the things we have learned with our religious and curriculum. And each month we focus on different math skills in units 4 and 6. we have spent time learning about comparing numbers to make this fun. We get to compare our heights to the heights of different types of penguins. To begin our comparisons, we needed to learn how tall we are. We pretended to prepare to go on a trip to Australia and Antarctica by measuring ourselves for snowsuits. It is very cold there. We even got to look at pictures of Antarctica and find its both on a map and globe. We made our own measuring tape like this. At a typical swim, it has been often we learned about how to the rock opening up. We call them the swim to show how tall they are. We then learned that king penguins are 36 inches tall and colored in this square to show how tall they are. I am taller than both the rockhopper and the king penguin. In addition to comparing our heights to the rockhopper and king penguins, we also learned that emperor penguins weigh 2 eggs at a time. This helped us learn to split count by 2 and become a double tracks. For example, with 6 emperor penguins, by 2 eggs each, there will be 12 eggs total. Just last week, we began comparing ourselves to the emperor and little blue penguins. The emperor penguin is the tallest penguin we study. It is 45 inches tall. That is tall as big as some first graders. A fun fact about little blue penguins is that they are from Australia, just like our principal Mr. Penguin. Right here. These penguins are 16 inches tall and are the shortest penguins we have studied. They are 2 inches shorter than the rockhopper penguins that we studied in Unit 4. Learning fun facts about penguins, how big they are, and where they live is learning about comparing numbers, practicing double stacks, and learning about measurements so fun. Thank you for listening to what We have been learning in first grade math class. We are so proud of how much we have grown and are excited to keep learning.
John, you guys gotta come back up. Come on, let's shake some hands. You guys gotta come right over here and go right in front of the thing. Great job.
Now you come over by me.
Good
I'm not really good.
job. Good job.
Great
Thanks for
job.
being here. Good job. Good job.
So all the different pictures, I got
You know, as we're walking around, I just want to say one thing. Been doing this for a lot of years. And parents, teachers take their time out on a Tuesday night family time to bring their children in. The best thing of a board meeting is seeing these kids bring presentations to us. It's the greatest thing in the world, and thank you very much. And parents, thank you. We took you away from you Tuesday night, but thank you for bringing them in. It's greatly appreciated.
So the next part of our agenda is not going to be as cute as it was looking at all of the first grade students and hearing from them. But students, maybe you can help us with some math, okay? Are you ready? Okay, you did a great job with the penguins. So tonight, we are recognizing Mr. Greg Erickson, who is serving as our board president. He has been on the board multiple times, but most recently from April 2017 to this month or next month when his term officially ends, April 2024. So my students who just helped with the penguins, can you tell me how many years he was on the board? From 17 to 24? How many? He has been on for 7 years. Excellent job. And so, Mr. Erickson, we wanted to present you with this certificate of commendation. It is from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and it's presented to you. It is from your executive director, Dan Rossmiller. It's presented by me. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, in honor of your service, we have a small gift, and Don has a card from all of us. And so if you wouldn't mind opening this up and revealing what's inside the bag. The box. The box. I know. That's okay.
Okay, the box you want me to do?
This was a state park sticker, so he can enjoy his time not on Tuesday nights anymore, but he can do that.
He can go there.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We know that your time in the district has made a difference. So on behalf of everyone here, we just want to say thank you. And much like the kids, you do need to shake hands. And we would like to get a photo as well.
You don't want to hug me?
I want to.
Thank you. Get over your big guy. Joe. You're a great man. I just want to say one word, a couple words. Then grand total, I don't know how many years it's been, but it's been great. The school district, from the teachers to board members to this lady, to her staff there, Dr. Smith's. I just want to say thanks. It was very much fun watching kids grow through learning. It's like watching your own kids grow up and seeing stuff like that, and seeing hard work in the classrooms and offices. It just floors you up. You guys are all angels without wings, because none of us would be where we are today if it wasn't for people like you to teach our kids and teach us growing up and that stuff. So, but I respect and I think a lot of you, and I'm going to miss all of this too. So take care and thank you for everything.
Joe, Teresa.
Let's get them.
So in terms of the district updates, we have a few today. I did want to turn the district office building update over to Mr. Majerus just to share a brief progress report. We sent a pretty extensive report to you last week, but even today, there's been a lot of work that's been done at the building.
Can I, again, just to recap, 29th, we had a water issue in the district office. We believe water was running for a couple hours until it was discovered, and maintenance staff and district administrative staff reported to the scene right away. Fire and rescue was there right away too. We stopped the situation from getting worse. We immediately went into remediation and mitigation. we were sucking water and pushing water as best we could, but again, not to give you too many details. Second floor had standing water through probably 3/4 of that level, and then we had water infiltration down to the first floor. So as you can imagine, it made a mess. We have ceilings, walls, carpet. Fortunately, our tech room is at the district office, and that was perfectly fine. There are other parts of the building that were perfectly fine and dry. But water remediation needed to happen, and then to focus on reconstruction. The service master was called within an hour of noticing the event, and they had staff on our premises 3 hours after it was discovered. So fortunately, they were able to start mitigating water. Our staff did a great job getting temporary office space set up, and the district office for the most part is operating out of the second story of Roslyn School. So in terms of cleanup and order procedures, we met with insurance company more than once, and communicated daily with service master and their staff. Water mitigation has since concluded. So after 1 week, 90% of the office was dried out and taken care of. The second week, the remaining rooms that they had to kind of get some stuff out of to be able to dry out the walls, that took place, and then they cleaned up all the debris, packaged everything up, and moved it into temporary storage, whether it's crossroads or into a storage pod on our facility. So that's all completed, and now starting week 3 here, we're already back to reconstruction. So staff was there from Service Master yesterday, started to take down wall covering in the areas that have wall covering. They start taking off the baseboards and things like that, and then tomorrow they'll actually start with the drywall process. So they had to flood cut a significant portion of the walls on one side or the other, not both sides, but they flood cut the drywall up in there. So again, that's all dried up and done. So now it's putting back all those drywall areas, and then after that, ceiling tiles will be replaced, painting will occur, and then carpeting will be the last thing that we do there. I would say, again, probably 3/4 of the carpet will be replaced. The wall structures themselves are pretty good. It is a steel stud building, so the interior of the walls are moist and having to dry out. That we're not super concerned about that. It's just going to take time to put it back. And then once it's all finished in terms of reconstruction, then the service master comes back and puts all the stuff back, at least in its general location. Put the desk back and storage units and file cabinets and things. And that'll be up to us to have the personal effects already back. So do that. My best estimate probably is still the end of the school year, but again, I think it's moving quickly, and without being careless or anything, I think they have the staff available to just focus on let's get it done back so we can get back to normal and focus on what we do. At the same time, one of the projects that you approved last month was the asphalt replacement for that building. So we pick a contractor and we'll do that work at the tail end of that process too. So when we go back and everybody goes back, it should be all put back together. So again, not ideal. Certainly the insurance company had questions in terms of its source and what happened. It was a sprinkler head in the second floor that failed and ran water. We believe it's temperature related, but there's no, we don't have cameras, but we can't tell for sure what happened. The thing was, the head was in a closet, so certainly the airflow isn't necessarily ideal to get room kind of tight temperature into this area. It also has proximity to the roof hatch, and so if you remember that week, it was super warm Monday and Tuesday, the night of our board meeting was like 65 degrees, nice and warm. But that night, the storm front came through, and we had snow on the ground Wednesday. And when Tara and I left here about 4 in the morning, not Wednesday, Thursday morning, I guess, it was 11 degrees, so it wasn't particularly warm. And the inner temperatures weren't super concerning necessarily, but they were lower than I probably would have expected. I think the high degrees, so again, we're not sure. We're just not sure. That location is monitored by Siemens, and we run our normal tests annually on the Siemens monitoring system without any issues. The panel was communicating fine until about mid-February. We saw some blips that were what we thought were internet kind of connectivity related, but we also found out that a switch that has that communication stuff attached to it failed on Monday, but we also replaced that and got it all put back together fine. So it's not that Siemens didn't call us to let us know. There's some kind of hardware, software communication problem between our equipment and their center.
Was that stuff in there when,
The panel was originally built.
that's got to be almost 35, 40 years old, that building.
Just shy of 30. The panel has damage to it. And that's one of the things that, once we finish the documentation, including pictures and other information, and that'll be part of the claim as well. But, again, the insurance company asked very valid, true questions. It's just, there's not necessarily great information we provide in terms of what exactly happened. They're looking for fault from an outside perspective. I can't say with any certainty that Siemens didn't do like what they were supposed to do. And again, we monitored the systems, we tested the systems. So usually in these instances, we've been told that a couple of things fail, and that's why incidents that could be small turn into big. And in this case, definitely, there were a couple of things that failed that turned into big. We're fortunate that passersby saw it and called the fire department so they could let us know. Otherwise, it would have been another 3 hours until this man was there for his normal 1 o'clock cleaning shift. So, knowing that it could have been twice as bad, perhaps, they got that would be kind of a problem. So, again, happy with not only our staff and how they've been able to kind of rally and just suck it up and deal with their temporary situation, but the staff that had to get those areas where we continue to kind of help make them comfortable as best they can in their area. Happy with that. Happy with Service Masters. Happy with our insurance company, not only just our local broker, but UCs and their adjusters been reasonable to work with. I mean, they're asking questions, but they're also they're going to cover the losses as they're required to do. So it's just a bunch of time after you wish you could have to spend, but accidents happen.
Oh, that's very good.
Was that panel you described, is that the mural that was on the second floor?
No, the alarm panel is down in the vestibule between the two sliding doors.
Did the mural survive that or not?
The mural's fine. So, again, other than spraying water immediately in that vicinity, the damage up there is humidity related, but mostly floors and the bottom parts of walls. The first floor, if that mural would have been our first floor, then I think we'd be nervous. Because water's obviously coming down from the ceilings, infiltrating all different kinds of spots. I mean, it was dripping lots of different spots in that first floor. Our files, 99% of them, I'd say, were safe and sound inside the file cabinets. They worked fine, and all that stuff was dry. I think we used some desktop computers and some kind of end user computer equipment. Yeah. Our copiers actually were fine. All those were fine. So it could have been much worse. So we're still going to be talking about hundreds of thousands. Perspective.
Good update, and you can post it.
We'll know more probably in the next, after we get back from spring break. They're planning to work through. So after spring break, I'll be able to share kind of where things are at that time. Hopefully, that drywall patching repair, and we're hopefully already started talking about it.
Thank you, Mr. Majerus. The next thing that we wanted to share was a brief update regarding Act 20. And I had the privilege of watching Katie and Neil facilitate information with the Lincoln team about Act 20, which is the early literacy bill. And so I did ask Ms. Malter to share just a brief update with all of you, because while our district is positioned very well, there will be some things that we're working on, many that we've talked to you about at previous board meetings. Ms. Malter?
Can you hear me okay? Just making sure. Because you can never be literacy out, right? Yes, as Dr. Villalobos had just shared, although Act 20, as you know, is the legislature that was passed in fall of 2023, we've been very proactive in anticipating the requirements for a long time before that.
Awesome. So I'll start over. Although we do know that Act 20 was a legislature that was passed in fall of 2023, our district has been very proactive in anticipating the requirements long before that. So we really feel very good about that. The purpose, if you don't know, is ensuring that students have the foundational skills necessary to learn how to read. I think many of us are in agreement that although the intention is very good and a lot of good is going to come from this, the rollout has been a bit clunky. And so we are doing our homework and making the most of it. We know we're not alone. We have great partners that we've been networking with the Hartford area schools and with CISA 6 as we continue to move forward. As Dr. Villalobos had shared, Mr. Hanlon and I were able to share with staff this afternoon, and Dr. Bowie and I shared with the Rossman staff this afternoon. Our purpose was to update staff in understanding what Act 20 really is, what it means, what steps our district has been taking already, and next steps that we're taking next. And it was very well received. Staff had really great questions. We were able to help understand the language of the law by looking at 4 different key areas and what that law suggests, as well as what steps we've already taken. Those key areas include, number 1, the curriculum and instruction, and the requirements of law in regards to the curriculum program has to follow the definition of phonics. We're so grateful that we've been doing that work, again, long before the release of Act 20. So in collaboration with Early Literacy Academy and with our teachers, we, as you know, collaborated in making the recommendation to implement benchmark phonics, which meets that requirement. So that was a great celebration. We were able to talk through those details. Another key area that impacts our district is the training requirements. And those training requirements include 4 days of early literacy training. I actually shouldn't say 4 days, it's a certain amount of hours, time. Again, we're very grateful for the strategic planning that we've been doing around this training with Dr. Rogatska, Dr. Villalobos, our Hartford area schools, and ensuring that the training is engaging and impactful. So we're excited for the updates on that and the continued planning on that. The third key area that we talked more about is in regards to the assessment requirements by Act 20, and that includes the screener that was pushed back. We won't actually know what that screener is until January. So we talked through next steps that we're taking and networking with what other districts are doing because we're all in the same boat. We've also been doing our homework around that. Dr. Rogatska has been working with a team, a committee, I should say, around diagnostics and learning programs so that we know what's available, what has the functions that our teachers want to see, that really, again, gives them the tools that they need to make a difference and to see the success in their students. And the fourth key area that we talked about with staff today that is an update regarding the personal reading plan and the requirements around what that looks like. Both Mr. Hanlon and Dr. Bowie talked with staff about the processes we already have in place, such as the CST, and just help them understand that there'll be some tweaks along the way and some adjustments. Staff had really great questions about that plan, and Ms. Keneally has been full speed ahead in already thinking through the time of when we can, I should say, roll out the adjustments and be strategic in that planning as well. So again, those are the updates that we know now. That's just a brief overview. We'll continue to share more, but again, we're grateful that we've been proactive and that we are being strategic in all the ways.
Thank you, Ms. Melter. So the next thing, in terms of the district updates, I did want to share information with board members on the staffing recommendations that I have for next year in terms of new positions. So I am looking at instructional coaches for each of the buildings. So that would be a teaching position to support some of our learning goals for next year, which would predominantly be differentiation. But then these individuals would also be able to go through specific coaching cycles with our teachers. Also looking for them to help assist with professional learning and professional development for our team. So these people could be internal people to our district, or they could be hired from the external as well. And then I'm also looking at a dean of students at Central Middle School for the short term, not a long-term forever position, but I do think that this is something that will help us as we work to make some changes. We know that we are very focused on the forward exam and what we can do to continue to support student learning, as well as feedback that we've heard from the staff in terms of supporting student behavior management. And so we're looking to add this team member as well. So before we actually bring any candidates to you, I wanted to make sure that you're aware of those additions for next year. And then when I move on to the board updates, at the board meeting in April, which will occur on the 23rd, we will be doing the board officer reorganization and board officer election. So I did link into your packets the 4 positions: president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk. So those would be the 4 positions that we're looking to elect at the April board meeting. I will facilitate the first part, which is the election of the president. And just so there are no qualms about that, I have to call for nominees 3 times. If you are the person who's asked to be the president or nominated as president and I call again afterwards, it does not mean that I'm unhappy with you. It's simply procedural. So, and then whoever is elected the president will take over from there and run the remaining elections. And those positions are for 1 year apiece. And then the Neola policy updates will also occur at the April board meeting. I did have a candidate session yesterday, and all 4 of our potential new board members were there, and so they also heard this information that at the very first board meeting in April, when they take the seat, that they will be voting on our policies. So the policies are linked there for you. If you open up the link, you can see that there are several tabs across the bottom. The spring 2024 tab is the one that we're looking at. And much like I reviewed this with you before, the information is listed, whether it's a policy which requires approval or whether it's an administrative guideline which just requires notification from me to you. And then a revision requires 1 reading, so it can be acted on right away. A new policy, of which we do have 1, requires 2 readings. So the new policy, which is actually our school resource officer policy, that will be on for action in May, not in April. And then all of the policies are linked in the leftmost column so that way you can take a look at those and review them. And if you have any questions, I wanted to make sure that you had plenty of time to review them before the April board meeting. So please feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. And that concludes my updates.
We'll have a discussion.
So I am really excited for this. We have Mel Hamlin with us today. And for anyone who came in and read to our students or saw the pictures on Facebook, you know that Read Across America Week just occurred. And so I did ask Ms. Hamlin to come in and share a little bit of information with you about our Read Across America Week. And that includes not only our student activities, but our staff activities. And while she's setting up, I have to say it was an incredibly successful week, but they didn't take too long to relish in that success. They already started reflecting and planning for next year. So it's still March of 2024 and they're already preparing for March of 2025. So very committed team.
Thank you. Again, I'm Elizabeth Hamlin. It is my first year as the district library media specialist, and the purpose of Read Across America Week is an event that generally is hosted by school libraries to promote reading. It started through the National Education Association in about 1998, and it's a year-round celebration of reading. It originally started with Dr. Seuss's birthday around March 2nd, so our district decided that we were going to start February 26th through March 1st, so we were ready for his birthday. As you can see up on the screen, during the week, we had daily dress-up days like Wacky Wednesday, Pajama Day, and School Spirit Day. There were daily fun activities like buddy reading, in which an older grade gentleman went to his younger grade's classroom and read with them. We had Community Reader Day, and for Wacky Day, we had to read somewhere strange in the building, so there were people in the cafeteria or under the desks or somewhere that they thought was unique. And then we also had cozy reading, and we brought back Dear, which is Drop Everything and Read. So the kids had to carry the book all day long, and we made an announcement never had to stop and read. At Central, the students had bubblegum reading, a bookmark competition, cozy reading, and a book tasting. At home, we wanted to make sure that families were involved. The library promoted an at-home reading by giving students an at-home reading challenge, which we kind of played on words with Dr. Seuss. We called it 1 Scoop, 2 Scoop, Read, Read, Read. Students checked off different genres and locations to read at home. The winning students earned ice cream parties for the classes. I know when I could hear them down the halls. They were very excited for their winning classmates. When I had actually contacted Culver's about community reading, they were super excited, and they let me know that they actually have a year-long program with bookmarks and business cards for free scoops of ice cream and meals. So they provided that for all of our kids. So a lot of our kids have been enjoying ice cream and Culver's meals, thanks to Culver's. And then our PTOs helped me with a fundraiser, which we did through Little Caesars, provided some money for the PTOs, which were very gracious in helping me with some of the funds for all of these different activities. This ended up being one of my most favorite and enjoyable activities of the week. It was a book tasting that we did at Central Middle School. During their ELA time, students and staff enjoyed coming to the LMC, which we transformed into a Starbucks cafe. And our Starbucks here in town was very gracious and helped us out with a lot of different things. Students came to the counter and I pretended to be my best barista. And they gave orders and we called them over for their orders and they received a sampling of books in a giant Starbucks bag. And they took it back to their desks and they got to peruse them. And they had a sample menu and they filled out which books they think they might want to read in the future, rated them, and then we kept going with that. So it was just a nice opportunity for them. As Dr. Villalobos said, probably our biggest event was the Community Reader Day. And it was at both elementary schools. Community members came from our community and they read a book and then they shared about their careers with our students. We had members from police and fire stations, local authors, bakers, a variety of business owners. You could tell the excitement was in the air. I still have a kid that is every week bugging me because our local author is not yet in our library. The donated book is there, but I don't have a good enough collection of her books. So it's really fun to see how they've made connections with our community and reading. And with that, we also reached out to the Jack Russell Library and we had an event. We were lucky enough to have Leap Day in the middle of our week. So we did a Leap Day and pajama party at the Jack Russell Library. Families came there in their pajamas and they got to enjoy making origami frogs and decorating crafty sleep masks. And then afterwards, families were encouraged to take some time to read books as a family. It was a great partnership with myself being new, as well as the library has also in our community had 2 new members. So it was a good collaboration for us. We didn't want to leave out the staff, so we had a couple fun challenges for the staff. We did a March Madness-like book challenge with our staff, and each staff member who chose to enter, they got to choose their favorite book of any genre, and we did it with just among our staff members, kind of a fun competition every 2 to 4 days. We voted as a staff, and then we had 1 lucky winner, which actually turned into 4 winners because multiple books won. Multiple people entered the same book, and staff received a homemade trophy by me. So, and then, the staff also challenged students by we created a guess who game. So they were able to click on those links and they saw pictures of all of the kindergarten books and they tried to guess which was their kindergarten teacher's favorite book and all the different grades. It was so fun to see like how many kids were certain they knew what book it was and they just knew, and they were usually right because you could just tell that the teachers, they share those books with their kids and the arguments about who it was, and they still do it. I mean, just this last week, one kid goes, I got Winnie the Pooh, and it was for Mrs. Morvac because she loves it. You know what I mean? So they already know their teachers and understand that. So it was fun to see as well. And as Dr. Villalobos said, this was our first year, so we had some things that we were like, we're going to do that better next year, and it's going to run smoother. So we're excited to do it again. One thing I wanted that was my most surprising thing, middle schoolers, the bookmark competition. They absolutely amazed me with their artwork and commitment to that. So I am going to pass around to you guys some of the samples that you guys can each take one and just select one. The kids did an amazing job. It was so hard. I said I was going to pick one. I think I picked 8 winners because I couldn't, I shuffled them. So thank you.
I was lucky enough to read at Rossman, and I was so grateful to do so, but I just want to say when I walked into Rossman, there was a little kid from the 4th grade class who was reading it, holding a sign up like this with my name, like I'm at an airport looking for my cab. And then they guided you, they took you to where you needed to be. It was two kiddos that guided you to where you needed to be, to check in with Mrs. Hanlon, and then take you to the classroom. It was so well organized. I thought it was just such a phenomenal event. So I just want to say kudos. And the kids loved it. I loved it. I thought it was a job well done.
the next item is our Board of Education gap analysis. And so I'm going to turn things over to Erin Wilk while I get the supplies needed. Okay. So we are, as a board, kind of looking at, we did a survey at board evaluation, for those who don't know, and we're taking this kind of one thing at a time. So tonight we're talking about the topic of how well we are using data to make our decisions. So data-driven decision making. So on average, on the 5-point scale, right? 4-point scale. On average, on the 4-point scale, we ranked our board as a 2.53, but the gap was 2.17. So again, that means that someone said 1 and someone ranked 3. There was over 2 points between the highest and the lowest ranking. So there are 6 areas that we're kind of going to look at tonight. So one is we manage by facts and our decisions are data-driven. We examine data to help district leaders identify groups of students in need of additional support. Our curriculum development process ensures culturally relevant learning experiences for our students. We benchmark test results against districts with similar demographics and prior performance over previous years. We have a schedule and protocol to review data and program performance. And then lastly, we have a process to ensure all students can participate in advanced coursework, the arts, and extracurricular programs. So what we're doing, and I know Greg, you missed last month, so everyone just got some Post-it notes. So I'm going to ask you, there are colors, and hopefully you guys can all see this on your screen. There's like a pink, make sure our screens look the same. There's a pink, a blue, oh God, there's a lot of blue. Oh, well, yeah, let's just number them. So we're just going to number the 6 things. You can write a number out. Okay, we're not going to go one by one. Generically, what I want you to do on your Post-it note is write down things that you think we're already doing as a district that are supporting these initiatives that are on this thing, that are helping us ultimately to make data-driven decisions. So we're going to take like 4 minutes and write down 1 item per Post-it note that we're doing well. So for example, it might be like, we surveyed students, right? We got data from students in the middle school to talk about things, or we used the Gallup survey again for staff. There's different ways that we might be doing things already that are helping us. So if you guys want to take like 4 minutes and jot down 1 per Post-it note, things that we're already doing that support that the board is making data-driven decisions. And then we're going to put them, for now, up here on this Post-it note. Any questions? You guys are looking at me like, I'll come collect your Post-its. How about that? Is that what you mean? Oh, I see. It's in the agenda with conversation. Greg, do you need help getting into it? Okay. Okay.
about 2 more minutes for us to finish writing these things down.
Managed by facts, and our decisions are data-driven. Examine data to help leaders identify groups of students that need additional support. Curriculum development process ensures culturally relevant learning for our students. We have a process to ensure all students can participate in advanced coursework, arts, and extracurriculars. We have a schedule and protocol to review data and performance. Benchmark test results against districts with similar demographics and prior performance over previous.
I don't know, is there a way to get those? I think that's what you're going to say. Are you just going to put that up the screen? Yeah, just so everyone. Right now, we're just going to get a full picture of where we are currently. Okay, I'm gonna start coming around and collecting them, and then if there's any other, like, need to get them on the board, just have to tell me. You got it all. Okay, so I'm going to read these out just so that we can all hear them. Again, these are things that from members of administration and board, what we think we're already doing well. So we're using forward exam data. We're discussing the AGR. We are reviewing curriculum regularly, managing by facts, budget versus actual analysis, year-over-year analysis, manage using ratios, for example, staffing, students needing support, ELL testing, forward testing, assessments during the year, exam results, the Gallup survey, staff presentations, advanced math program working with the high school, policies to ensure we are monitoring progress, examining data to help groups of students in need of additional support. Our curriculum development process ensures culturally relevant learning experiences for our students. Our curriculum development process is working well. Staff surveys and feedback forms following professional development. Item analysis with staff, such as forward data. Formative and summative assessments for decision-making in math, reading, and content areas. Common math and reading assessments aligned to key standards. We analyze all district and class data to make decisions on the supports or advancing opportunities students receive. For forward, we do look at how similar districts scored, same with report card data. We analyze screener, exact path, all district and state assessments to look for strengths and areas of growth. Intervention, special education, we make decisions based on progress, monitoring data. We review exact path. We review AGR mid-year, end of year. We review forward. We review seclusion, restraint, reports. curriculum choice based on what's needed, bridges and benchmark phonics, Gallup survey data, changing our outlook, beliefs, and practice. Admin reviews forward data and report card data compared to other districts with similar demographics. Test score data, survey, students, staff, and community, staff meetings, admin meetings, curriculum review throughout the year. Is there anything, after hearing all of this, that anyone feels like we are still doing currently that we should add up to the board? No. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this drawing board now one more time. So let's say we're a year from now, okay, fast forward to 2025. What are we missing from this list that we would like to see up here that would make our overall average go up, and the fact that we're making decisions based on actual data? So what are things that could be added that we need to increase? And one of the things, I talked about this in advance with Dr. Villalobos, to make sure I could not look like a fool up there, hope it's working. But one of the things, board members, is sometimes I feel like for the board, we don't know all the things we don't know. So we don't know when you're comparing to other districts, for example. That was interesting for me to read up here. Maybe we want to see more presentations in the board meeting because that would help us know that we're making informed decisions. I think part of when we survey the board and how we're doing, part of it is that we don't know what we don't know. So just keep that in mind for the board specifically when you're putting down. We have like 4 more minutes to write that down. One of these things, it's something that we haven't already discussed, is maybe like that. More minutes. Just kidding. Okay. Can everyone hear me okay? Yep. So some things that we would like to see in an ideal world, and then we're gonna pare this down to like 3 or 4 initiatives we could focus on for the years. Can't do all the things. School improvement plan mid-year update. So I think right now we do that once a year, so the idea is adding a second year, how that improvement plan is going. Implement new screener and learn how to help staff fully utilize. For example, when are we notified about what our new screener will be in Act 20 related? Quarterly update on where we are at with the curriculum process, like with the cycle of like how, what do we bring on this year, what's up? Check in on how advanced programs are doing. Additional consistent Board of Education presentations and how the curriculum is going from the teachers. I have really loved watching them talk about that. Show other districts when presenting to board, like what that data is. I know you guys said you already do it. I don't know if I'd be able to see it. Continue staff surveys yearly. Board admin data retreat, budget workshop, or community education sessions once or twice per year. Athletic activity director year-end report. Official district response to forward results. First time was this year, so keep that going. More collaboration and partnerships with neighboring districts. Understanding the opportunities for advanced coursework. More student guidance on what they may be interested in. More student and staff presentations on curriculum. A lot of this is more staff involvement when curriculum is possibly changing. Observation day for board to see firsthand learning. More structured and complete EL program, especially for newcomers to the country. Parent engagement monitoring tool. Increased ways for AFA, science, social studies to be closer to impact on reading and math. Staff more strategic on what data they need and are looking for. Teachers using data more to inform their instruction. More student-led goal setting in response to data. Increased capacity around differentiation based on data. More input from attending actual classroom student activities and instruction. A lot of things. It's great. So, to the floor, heard all of this. Who has thoughts, very strong feelings about one or more of these items that we should highlight out? So now stop at one.
I'm going to throw out differentiation because that impacts every single student in our district. I think there are areas of opportunity around that.
For those of us who might not be as specific or knowledgeable about differentiation, can you tell us what you mean?
Sure. So it's, we know that all students learn differently, right? And so it's increasing the strategies that we use to teach our kids to meet their needs and move them forward. So in building capacity for what those strategies are, that might take some professional development or some modeling. You know, Dr. Villalobos mentioned the instructional coaching, where that those types of strategies would be modeled firsthand to help build that capacity and transfer those differentiation strategies.
Well, I know someone had student goal setting on here. For those of us who have read the works of John Hattie, anything with an impact of 0.4 or higher is something that has impact. And so student goal setting is slightly above that, at about 0.5. I think that's helpful to our students.
Student-led goal setting?
Mm-hmm.
I heard you say that there was a trend or a pattern of the staff sharing presentations of the curriculum, and I think you shared that, somebody else voiced that. It also really helps us see like the long-term planning, how it is actually making a difference. That might be something people.
It's funny, because I just pulled this one off, which is the staff involvement in curriculum is constantly changing. So I think, yeah, it's both getting input when it may be changing, when we're looking at a change, and then also seeing how it's actually impacting the classroom. I find that we're here once a month. So for me to know that we're making data-driven decisions is really challenging without getting that piece on the ground perspective. So I really appreciate that. So I will put on here staff involvement with curriculum in general.
I would love if you put on there specifically the spotlight on teaching and learning. Yeah, if you list it as two, because I do think it's incredibly powerful for you here. It's cute when the kids come in and it's so incredible to see what they've learned, but our teachers are the ones that are impacting them and are helping them to gain those skills that we get to see. And so I think it's really beneficial to get to see the teachers in action and to be able to give them credit and acknowledge them for what they're doing in the classrooms.
So we'll do staff presentations on curriculum implementation, how that's impacting the classrooms, yes.
Yeah.
And then here we'll do staff involvement when curriculum is changing. Like the tweak. Anything else anyone feels very strongly about? If you don't, that's okay. You don't need to like fill this stuff.
I feel pretty strongly about the screening, because that's going to be something that is going to need to be rolled out really tight. And I think it leads into a couple of the other concerns on making sure our teachers really understand the screener, what's being assessed, how they're going to use that data to inform instruction, what decisions we make based on intervention or the support students receive. So I think the rollout of that screener, which is coming quickly, is going to be really important.
All right. Good. Any other final thoughts from anybody? Okay. Thank you.
Good job, Darren. Moving on to action items. Hartford Elementary Education Association and School Board of initial proposals. Set ground rules and future meeting dates and or offer to ratify. In accordance with 111.7404 CM2 Wisconsin statute, the exchange of the initial contract proposals between Hartford Elementary Education Association and Hartford Joint One School District is to take place in open session. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve and ratify the initial offering of the HEEA as presented. I'll second.
Any discussion?
So Adam and I have been meeting monthly with Mr. Rao, Ms. Powell, and Ms. Tower from the HEEA. And we did not meet this month because of spring break and just being incredibly busy. But at our meeting in February, we did discuss this exchange. You'll note that the offer on the exchange is a 0, and then we are recommending in April when we bring contracts to you that we look at CPI. That is our recommendation. And that was the recommendation that was shared with the 3 HEEA members as well.
If you could actually do a physical exchange of those documents, that would be great. And Mr. Rao is taking it back to his group and hold on ratification so that we have, we don't have comments on documents and we'll need to schedule for that month.
As soon as possible.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call please.
Ed?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. And I say aye.
Motion is approved. Moving on to number 2, technology package. The handout summarizes the annual technology package proposal. This includes annual renewals, capital equipment needs, and instrumental technology needs. The district prepares a long-range technology plan to keep expenditures as consistent as possible. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the 23-24 technology package at a cost not to exceed $336,000 to $336,030.
Do we have a second? Any discussion?
Mr. Majerus and Mr. Redschlag have met on this, and they've confirmed with me I'm supportive of the package as presented.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
John?
Aye.
Aaron? Aye. Greg?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Motion is approved. Moving on to number 3, dental insurance contract renewal for 2025. The district uses M3 as the agent for dental insurance and Delta Dental their insurance carrier. This renewal has 0 increase for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the health insurance contract renewal for 2024-25.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Majerus has worked hard on this. I'm very proud to bring to you the renewal that has a 0% increase that he negotiated for us. There's no reason not to approve it.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Greg?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
I say aye. John? Aaron? Aye.
Motion is approved. Moving on to number 4, band and orchestra instrument rental. Based on board action, this item is being revisited. Mrs. Motier has been working with the educators to update the original proposal presented last month. Options for families are included for this information.
I'm very excited to turn it over to Katie Malter and Christian Colburn and Andrea Geiger. Mr. Majerus may be featured every once in a while if there's anything that he needs to report out on. But they listened to the feedback that we were given at the last board meeting, and they put together a very thorough and comprehensive presentation to share with all of you.
Thank you. Hello, good evening.
Hang on a minute.
I jumped the gun. I'm terribly sorry. We need a motion on the table. That's my fault.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to motion to approve the band and orchestra renewal process.
Do you have a second? Okay, now we can go into discussion.
All right, good evening. We're back. We spoke last month on the benefits of music education and proposed a vision to increase student success and meet the needs of the budget. Right? Oh, I have the clicker, sorry. There we go. So we are really grateful to speak with you in greater detail regarding the why behind this change, and we're really excited to share with you the additional option that we have for families. This evening, Ms. Geiger, Mr. Colbert, Mr. Majerus, and myself are here to, number 1, follow up with you on more information with your questions from last month, 2, provide you with a very clear picture of what those options are, and certainly review our next steps to maximize student success. First and foremost, please just know that we are committed to providing a quality instrument program. That has not changed, and I continue to see that more and more as I work with these 2 individuals. So with that being said, that commitment starts with why, right? Why this recommendation even came up before I took on this role, and why it's been one of our priorities in the later few months, is really because of student success. We know student success is important, and instruments of good quality is really cornerstone to that student success. As you heard last month from Ms. Geiger, she shared a bit about the sound quality. And as you'll see when I turn it over to them with our current inventory, we simply don't have the instruments that are up to par to available in that capacity. We've talked a bit about the why being time dedicated to instruction. That's really important. And currently running a business within an instructional program is really unmanageable. And certainly, you'll hear more on this from Mr. Majerus, meeting the needs of the budget. Our current status is really not sustainable. You'll hear more about this in just a little bit. So I think it's really important that we just capture where we are currently with our numbers. You'll see a summary up there, as well as a historical table of where our numbers have been. It's really important to notice and think about that we are currently supporting 6 different bands. We have 3 bands and 3 orchestras, which is a lot, but it's also really exciting. And we don't want to see those numbers change. You'll hear more about that, opportunities to really recruit families, because we know, again, the importance and the value of music education. You might notice some of the changes in counts over the last year due to some transitions with new staff in their roles. Both Mr. Colburn and Ms. Geiger have made recruitment truly a priority. I heard Mr. Hanlon thank Mr. Colburn as he walked in. Thank you for your visit over to the elementary just last Friday. Both Ms. Geiger and Mr. Colburn were able to get over there to introduce students to instruments, give them an opportunity to practice or to try out the instruments and really gauge their interest and get them really excited about the opportunity to play. So that recruitment really has been a priority for these two. They also have band and orchestra family night coming up on April 8th, so we're getting excited for that.
Just for 1 second, for reference, I mean, if you look at those numbers, you have to keep in mind that Central Middle School's just overall population was different during those years that are in the bottom grid than they may be in the top. And also in next year as we move forward. I mean, at a high point, we had 605 or 610 students at this facility, and now we're just over 500 and probably projected next year around between 450 and 460 perhaps. So clearly, if you look at any participation, any group, it's likely to go down just from a sheer perspective of the student population down. So, and again, I wouldn't get too worried about those numbers necessarily.
Does orchestra still go to Washington every 2 years? That probably is part of it too, but.
Thanks for that note. So in our new vision, it's important to know, we've talked about the inventory, but we want to give you a snapshot view of that. We feel that's very important, of what we currently have and the condition of what we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Geiger. She's going to share some information about her current band inventory.
Thank you. Currently, this first column is looking at keeping 3 of each instrument, flute, clarinet, saxophone, and so on. And that would be in case of an emergency repair or something where a student does not have an instrument, we would have one to provide them with to continue instruction and not have a student sitting empty-handed. And our next step is looking at a scholarship option, which through Central Middle School or through HJT1, which Mrs. Molter will talk more about that in the next coming slides. But adding 1 or 2 of each instrument to our keeping inventory, the inventory that we're keeping. And we can be flexible with these numbers. We want to have 2 to 3 available in case of repairs, but that would allow for
2 to 3 to be open for a scholarship that a student would be eligible for to use. Now, the number 3 came from 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, having one available for each. However, that could be flexible. Having 2 as a backup, I think, would be plenty. So say it's very hard to gauge what instrument students are going to be picking and applying for with this scholarship. So if we had like 3 flute applications, I could be flexible with that, and we could use 3 of our flutes and still have 2 flutes left over. The last 2 columns that you see, instruments in good condition to sell and instruments for disposal. Instruments for disposal are ones that we would not want to sell to families. They are simply beyond repair, not worth the money to repair them. After we would do further investigation into each specific instrument, determining if, because some of them we may be able to sell, but letting families know that you would have to pay for some repairs on this before you could use it. So we would do a further look into that. So that's why those numbers are a little sporadic, the instrument for disposal. There are only a few that I know 100% for sure from Vince at White House. So that is our current situation with inventory and what we're looking to do with our inventory.
Thanks, Ms. Geiger. Yeah, and I'm going to be turning it over to Mr. Colburn to share the orchestra perspective. It's important to notice that with our new vision, we would still be managing 50 to 100 instruments, which is still a lot, but that's a lot more manageable than what we currently have. And as we know, there are significant costs to having those district-owned instruments and keeping them up to par. I'm going to take the next slide and give you an opportunity to see the orchestra inventory, which Mr. Colburn will share.
Thank you for listening to this presentation. Right off the bat, you can see in the right column that there's 42 instruments that are ready for disposal. Not only are they, they're ready for disposal, so not even in good enough condition where I would feel good about selling them to anyone for any reason. We have, as you can see, 31 and 12 instruments that are in good condition to sell. We are very excited to be able to keep 4 of each of the instruments for the scholarship, which I believe Ms. Malter will be talking about later, but the school scholarship that's going to be hopefully started. And then we are keeping all of our cellos and basses, the idea being that they're too big for kids to go back and forth between home and school. And so every student will have to run through White House of Music. The cellos and bass players will keep their White House of Music instrument at home, and then they'll have a school instrument to be able to play, so that way they're able to practice at home and have an instrument at school. So yeah, very excited to be able to offer that.
Thank you, Mr. Colburn. Yes, as you can see, there are lots of instruments sitting there that really are not up to par in any way. So we'll be following policy with the disposal of those. We did do some research. I think there was a really great question asked about the longevity of the instruments. So we did some research around brass instruments, usually depending on the cleaning and care, could last from 5 to 10 years. Woodwinds 15, but that's if the padding is replaced, and it really comes down to, as you know, the care of the instruments, which is one of the challenges that has been all along. Mr. Majerus, I'm going to turn it over to you to share a bit more about the associated costs.
I got one quick question.
Sure.
Those 42 instruments that you want to sell to anybody, is that just from 1 year, or is that an accumulation over the years?
Yeah, that's an accumulation of all the instruments we currently have.
And we don't have a budget or nothing to replace stuff on it for band or anything like that?
So we've replaced some instruments over the course of time. So those are going to end up the ones that we're either keeping or doing whatever. It's just what we need right now versus what we have right now. We're inventory like back in the day when we had 160 or 180 students in that program. I mean, there's piles of old instruments that are here that are just not necessarily needed in terms of what our current numbers are. We also have to replace and repair the district-owned instruments. So again, think of the larger instruments, the large percussion instruments, the tubas, the bases, things like that. So, as we're talking and kind of getting into this associated cost tab, there will still be an inventory of instruments that are owned by this district. But the numbers will be far fewer, and those instruments likely aren't going to be as used. Scholarship instruments perhaps would be more used. The spare instruments, probably not so much. And the larger instruments, might also still be on the normal cycle that they've always been. I mean, again, that was the school and tubas, for example, and those last a little bit longer, so students don't drop them on the floor and can't them all up. But it's unrealistic to expect the students to rent those instruments because the rental costs are just too different. So
I just thought that that's an awful high number for stuff that you can't sell and that stuff. I would have thought that would be at 10.
we can also use it for parts. So again, we have parts, instruments, and we have different things that we keep available. It's just, and I'm sure those are at the bottom of the pile.
Are the instruments, do you guys check each student's instruments once in a while for any kind of damage?
Yeah,
Are parents held accountable for that?
so right now, our instrument, well, first of all, part of the reason why we're doing this is it's not actually manageable for either of us to make sure that each one of our actual students has a well-functioning instrument. But if, in terms of holding parents accountable, if there is something that was like smash the instrument or very gross negligence, the policy of the district right now is that the family has to pay for it, and I've had a few instances. The instrument rental agreement we have is that regular wear and tear that's unavoidable will be covered by the district. A good example of that is the wooden bridges tend to bend over time, over years, and then eventually they pop out. That's not the student's fault. Same thing with strings wear out and we need to replace those. It's not the
So
student's fault.
you handle that just about like you do with the Chromebooks. If something goes on, you replace them, looks like they beat them up and they harm something.
So, additional items to note here, we plan to, provide the supplies for the instruments, so while, families will be expected to rent their instruments, to the extent that there's supplies for the band instruments, for example, the brass instruments that they need more or less clean kits and oil for valves. We will supply those, reeds for the wood instruments. We would supply those. Other things that we need to consider is for the wood-based instruments, so again, the orchestra instruments, and we have to, one thing that Mr. Colway's concerned about that would be that humidity over the course of a fall season and then a winter that's dry, a spring that's wet. We try to control humidity on those things. While there's certainly, if we're not necessarily storing them as district owned instruments and stuff, and they're traveling more with students, we can do something like humidity packs that we can put right in the instrument cases and help hopefully kind of monitor that. So those are the kind of things that we'll be responsible for some supply costs. So, I think that is at least manageable as compared to, again, just setting aside for replacements of 10, 20, 30 instruments on both.
I wasn't here last month, so I can't
Yep.
tell it, but students are recommended to buy their own, or they can rent it from White House of Music, right? Or kids that can't afford it, you let them use the school.
We have a slide coming up that's going to talk about.
All right.
So yes, the options are White House rental, purchase your own instrument from whatever source. Our inventory to start with would be a great source for that. They can consume their hand probably cheaper. We get rid of one of our inventory pieces and not have to start it up later. Or the other normal places you go, eBay, the high school students that aren't planning to play anymore, wherever you choose to be an instrument. But there's an exciting option that's new, even since last last month, so.
Thank you, Mr. Majerus. Yep, so we know the importance of supporting all families and providing all interested students to receive what they need, right? The tools that they need. We want to support them. We want them involved. We want them making music. So here you can see from a district lens, this is the 60 students who are currently paying for rentals right now, who qualify for free and reduced. Moving to this new option, families would not have to pay. And that is because of the opportunities that we have. It was mentioned already, the White House of Music Foundation. They offer many opportunities with new and used instruments, as well as some funding. We've been in a we've had a very positive partnership with White House of Music. Vince, I know you heard his name last month. He assures us that 80% of students who apply for that foundation are granted if they are eligible. And so you can see the requirements of eligibility. Should there be students who apply for that foundation and it's not honored or granted, that's where our scholarship comes in. The scholarship eligibility would simply be that students applied for the White House of Music Foundation, but their wish was not granted. So we would provide this opportunity for students. They would pay a reduced rental fee of $120. I heard Mr. Majerus say if for some reason a family could not pay that up front, he would work on a payment plan. Because again, we want students having instruments, quality instruments in their hands. Another great question was asked last month in regards to the maintenance and repair coverage and what that all covers and how much it is. This is through White House of Music. It's $5 per month for the instruments listed there, $6 for a few others. And there is no limit on the repairs that might apply should a student sign up for this maintenance and repair coverage. And as I stated last month, this is available for students with instruments that they might not be renting from White House. They may have found on eBay, or maybe they purchased it from Hartford Joint One. They also can sign up for this maintenance and repair coverage. Vince comes right to the school, typically weekly, so parents wouldn't need to get to the store in order to repair or take care of the instrument that they might be playing. You saw the options here. Here, once before, I have them listed up there again. These are the options that would be available to families. I know that both Ms. Geiger and Mr. Colburn are very excited and enthusiastic to partner with families in this decision-making. They've been doing a lot of research. They've looked on eBay. They have messaging ready. They have, all the forms available to make it very efficient for families. They're very excited for their opportunities with band and orchestra night coming up in April. So they are great partners in this transition as well. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to them to share one or two more statements on that.
Excuse me, I think it's important to note too that we will be with the families every step of the way. If they find something to look at, or like an ad that they're like, well, I'm not sure about this instrument, is it in good condition? We have our emails and our phones to be available and look at that ad with them and say, well, we would recommend, or we could pass them along to Vince too, who could give them an expert opinion on those, on that specific instrument. But to be able to tell them, no, that one is in really poor condition, it's not worth that value, skip it, go to the next one, see if you can find something that's more in the price range for that quality of instrument. And also I have listed brands to share with families so that they know they're getting a good quality instrument and so that they know what to look for. But again, being with them every step of the way and being available for them to ask us questions.
Just as Ms. Walter said, we are excited to be able to partner with families to help them out in need and to make sure that their student is playing a good instrument for an affordable price. I have some of my tips that I will be sharing with families up there. First of all, consult Mr. Colburn. Like I'm saying, I would love to have be able to play an instrument for a family, just to double check that they're getting a good deal. Avoid instruments that don't look like instruments, and then stick with Eastman, Yamaha, or Maple Leaf. Those tend to be the most recommended and reliable brands for string instruments. So again, just very excited and willing to be able to partner with families.
Thank you so much. So in closing, simply, I stated it once, I'm going to state it again. We are committed to a quality program with instruments. Band and orchestra are very important to our school district. These changes would really give these two what they need in order to increase that success, but also would be much more manageable from a district perspective. I stated this last month, we'll continue to monitor and adjust these changes for sure. You never know how that scholarship may build up over time. I mentioned that Vince, sort of the owner, Mr. White, said we can be very creative with donations and making sure that those come right on back to Hartford Joint One. So thank you for considering it, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just because it wasn't written on the slide for the White House Music Foundation, so you said typically 80% of the kids who apply receive that scholarship from them? And then did I hear you say that it's zero cost if they get it to the family?
Correct, yes. If they apply for the scholarship and they apply to the foundation and it is granted, they pay $0.
Okay. That makes me, I was originally not anticipating 80% of them to get that. And the number of instruments we have allotted for our own independent scholarship does not seem to meet the ratio of the free reduced kids at all. So I was very concerned about the numbers. This makes me feel a lot better because I was doing math here with my phone to make sure. So, okay, that is my question. Thank you.
And also keep in mind that again, those kids now are paying. So
right.
Through this whole scenario here, we found a solution potentially to reduce their overall burden. So, I mean, because of some of the questions and the work that you guys have done, some Chris at White House, I mean, we're going to be able to serve them even better now. So, I mean, as a sales point, out there now, they have to make a choice in their family whether that's a priority. Now they may not have to prioritize it.
Can you put that on messaging, like ask about our grants or foundation scholarships, just so that, especially when you guys are going to the elementary schools and families are initially getting, okay. Yeah.
There it is. Yes, we are
I
ready.
didn't see
with
that. I wasn't
messaging.
sure if that was like, okay. Cool.
Don, you got a question?
Yes. When you start out the school year, you have an optimal number of different instruments that you want to have in your band or orchestra. And what happens if you don't get that? Too many kids want to play drums and not enough on the string instruments. What do you do?
I'm going to turn that question over to Ms. Geyer because she was just talking about that yesterday.
That is an excellent question, and that's something we're fearful of every year because I don't want a whole band of saxophones, and that tends to be the most popular instrument. But we ask them to pick their top 2 or 3 choices, and then we do our best to give them their first choice if possible. Otherwise, and it's really important we talk to the kids and get a feel for, some kids are like, I want to play saxophone or I'm not doing band. Some kids are like, well, I'd like to play saxophone, but I'd be okay with clarinet too. And some kids are like, I just want to play an instrument, let me in band. So we take that into consideration as well. The kid who is, I don't really care what I play, we're okay giving them their second choice because we know it's not going to affect them as much as the kid who is, I need to play saxophone or I'm not doing music. So we balance that out in that way. And we, like Katie said, Ms. Walter said, we have a very close relationship with White House. And so we will be with them every step of the way. On April 4th and April 29th, we have our instrument trial nights and rental night. Parents, families can rent that night right there on the spot if they choose to. And we are with them every step of the way so we can see what numbers we're getting for these instruments.
Do you ever move students around that are exceptional players of the instruments or the ones that aren't? You just throw them all together and hope for the best.
So there's a few reasons why we might switch a student. Last year, I had a trumpet player who was struggling to get the high notes out on trumpet, and because it's such a small mouthpiece, I moved him to a larger brass instrument, which is still the same type of mouthpiece, but a little bit bigger, and he had a lot more success on baritone instead of trumpet, and he started enjoying my class a lot more because he was more successful. So yes, there are different reasons, and if the student simply isn't enjoying that instrument, we have conversations about what instrument they might be interested in, and if there is capacity to switch them.
That's my only other question. I have a sixth grader coming in. She wants to play orchestra. She may change. So if I do a rental agreement and let's say halfway through the year, she doesn't want violin, she wants cello or whatever. I've already paid for the instrument if I bought it through you outright. I'm stuck with that instrument. I have to buy another instrument. That's my concern is what do we do for those kids that do want to change over? How do we make that easy?
It's making a commitment to that first year, isn't it? You may run into that. You may see buy, sell, trade, and we researched a lot of those instrument prices and what's available, quality instruments that are available for a low cost. But yes, I understand that could be one of the challenges.
If we do it with White House and Music though, wouldn't you do a rental agreement to them? My understanding is, because I already have one, kid wants to switch because I've already got money in the account, I actually can just trade in the instrument, so to speak. So that would be the only thing that I would make sure that when you're talking to parents, if they do go with White House, it's going to give them the opportunity, hopefully, to then have that child change instrument throughout that course versus if we buy it direct through middle school, unfortunately, through joint one, you're stuck with that instrument and then you're buying it second.
Well, that's if you buy it anyway, not just for one, just to point it out. Like,
Right,
if you're
but
gonna,
if you're doing a rental,
right, the recommendation always should be for sixth graders coming in to do a rental to make sure they're comfortable with the right, like you're saying, they go from one to a bass or something different, like, to make sure they're in the right instrument.
I understand what you're saying, and almost putting that in the messaging, why would you rent versus why would you buy? If you're really not sure, you probably want to rent. If you're pretty committed, like the saxophone player, you could buy.
I also think that what you guys just said earlier about being with the parents and the families every step of the way, you could incorporate that more into this message so that newer families know that this isn't like, that you're available and that you're able to help consult with them and all of these things. I think that's going to go a long way also.
Lowest cost of entry likely will be to purchase our instruments because we're not going to be able to sell them at anywhere close to probably prices. So it's just a money thing. You may want to do that, take the risk. You're at risk for a year, so would you maybe possibly have to allocate money for a second instrument? Yes. Can you turn around and sell that to the incoming sixth graders the next year? Also, yes. So
would you guys allow that through us, like as a parent, would we be able to go back and go, hey, my kid wanted this instrument in sixth grade, now they want to switch to band, can I resell that instrument back?
Or even just to the other family.
Right.
The parents where there could be a chat about, hey, we're coming in this, like they do the soccer teams.
I don't really have to sell on your roster instruments. So I think that if you give us a dollar amount for a thing, if you want to switch to another thing, you can still have it.
So what happens when somebody does it for a year and they decide they don't want to do it? You have a buyback program? Like even if they paid for them from White House, does the district have a buyback and then they have your inventory?
I don't know that I can start with that. As we watch it happen, I think we could do that. And again, it leads the conversation.
Yeah.
This last one. But there's literally hundreds of districts using White House or using the way that they're talking about. Ooh, different from us. That's part of the apprehension, I'm sure, is it's just moving. They're doing this in 100 districts in this southern part of the state.
And I know I missed a lot last month, but kind of hard for me to vote on something if I don't get some answers or questions answered, that's all.
Last month, we really, the price went way up for families to enter. So you guys have done a lot of work clearly, so thank you for giving us this information. I certainly feel better about this. You know, in an ideal world, if we were going up the scale to what this music program would be, I would love it to be free for all students, the same way choir is, the same way art is. I know that might be unrealistic, but I mean, that's why I have to ask those questions. I love every student to be in an instrument and have the opportunity to play.
Yeah, my hat's off to you. I think you got good options there. I've been associated with youth sports for a long time, and you only got one option. Buy it, buy the equipment, or you don't play, you know. And at least you guys are coming up with some options there. So.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and questions.
Any other discussion? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes, the bills, the treasurer's report, and personal recommendations. Is there a request to pull an item from the consent agenda? No. So we'll move down to there. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call. Ed.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Don.
Aye.
Aaron. Aye. And I say aye.
All right, motion passed. Number 9, motion to move into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.851C EF for the purpose of a discussion and potential action on individual administrative contracts, a discussion on potential action to issue preliminary notices to consider the non-renewal of individual teachers' contracts pursuant of Wisconsin statute 118.22 and be approved the January 23rd, 2024 closed session minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move into closed session for Wisconsin statute 19.851 CEF for the purpose of discussion and potential action on individual administrative contracts, discussion of potential action to issue preliminary notices to consider the non-renewal of individual teacher contracts pursuant to Wisconsin statute 118.22 and approval of the January 23rd, 2024 closed session minutes.
We have a roll call, please.
John second.
Don second.
I'm sorry. Any discussion? With that being said, roll call, please.
Don.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Aaron. Aye. I say aye.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
We are coming back to older stuff. We'll do this. We have this. To go with it. We have a closed session.
Thanks for all the years, but Mr. Office, once, I can still come get work there.
See you in a little bit.
We have one coming up. Yeah, it's towards the right in the field, so forget, you need to but just let us know, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, I will. I'll give Mrs. Weemeyer a call.
Have a good night there, Greg.
Yes.
Really nice job.
You did a great job too there.
Should I just meet you guys at the lunch then?
Good work there, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joel and, Ed. And you have your April fourth,
Neil, there's supposed to be a soccer meeting. You wanna get going? We got a soccer meeting.
So probably me and Andrew.
I'll connect with the group. Thanks so much for your work.
Thank you.
Hey, no, seriously not. No, actually 20 minutes ago. Probably done.
So get writing it.
Not a problem. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thanks. Who's babysitting? Oh, yeah, you have old enough kids that can babysit on their own.
Need babysitters. Oh, they're supposed to soccer meeting. They take care of themselves after two.
After two?
Ryan, are you hanging here? No. Okay, I gotta run and grab their food. I'll be right back.
Fifth grade. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ben?
I believe whatever that was,
I figured that you wanted to.
but it was yesterday. Okay. I'm gonna do it today anyway, now, so that's good sales.
But you're staying here, right? So I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then get my
Stop.
stuff. I think that'll be fine.
I think so.
you're not safe here?
Nope.
All right, well, I'm looking out here tonight. You feel better too. felt so good. Yeah, because Yeah, lucky of it, John, put your sidetracked by this pizza, we need him to get in here.
Oh, it's just a box of beer to eat.
It still smells so good. Can you remind me, do you make I take them to have the Austin, make sure Greg can see it on the. This is a token of, yeah.
I lost my voice the next 2 days after that.
Hey, I have a question. I didn't, because obviously there was time, but it didn't matter. I love the technology package. The only question I had, which I asked Tara, so obviously our company, I love that we're gonna do the 2 authenticator. But I brought up 2 concerns with that is one, of course, this building specifically. I think it gets hit and range in certain areas of the building. So for a teacher who has to do like a thumb or to their phone, one, they're not supposed to have phones out. So we may have to change our policies a little bit to allow that to.
Yep.
But also, what can we do to enhance so that we can actually get range?
This building, yeah.
I mean, it's not just this building. I have a problem in Lincoln too. Like I was down in the cafeteria and I didn't get any
It's all
reception.
interiors and stuff, yeah. Adam and I had to start talking.
Yeah, so that's my only thing. Like, I think it's great and I do think we need that, like sooner than later. But I don't want it to be a situation where our teacher's like, I can't get in to like do my thing. And I have to like excuse myself when you've got a classroom of kids, that's not gonna work. So before we truly go down that path, we'll need to make sure that every area of the building, you can get that 2-step.
Louise,
And
let's
then
do this. I have a motion to adjourn.
Yes, so make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second?
Everyone said it. Louise said it and Don said it at the same time, so one of you make a motion, one of you second it.
Don can motion, I'll second.
There we go.
All in favor? Aye. And then the second thing was,